Alright, so you guys have been wanting me to upload my high key runs on my Enhancement Shaman, as there's little to no information or videos about that, and the entire spec in general. And since I reached Resilient 19 yesterday and started dabbling into my first 20s, I thought this would be the perfect time to do so. So the gameplay you're gonna see right now is my second ever plus 20, which I managed to time. I did a plus 20 yesterday off stream, which I also timed first try. That was a Pit of Saron. Unfortunately, didn't record anything there. But this is a Magister Terrace run, really clean, honestly, from the entire group. So if you want to see more videos like this is the first time I've done like commentary on my own gameplay. So if you want to see more, let me know by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Really helps out a ton. So let's go. All right, so this is a physical comp, a little bit of a different physical comp, honestly. The usual physical comp, usually Brewmaster, Resto Shaman, Warrior, Rogue, Hunter, right? But since I am the Shaman right here, I am the Bloodlust provider and stuff, there won't be any need for Resto Shamans. So we're going for the Druid, Mistweaver Monk, Arms Warrior, Assassination Rogue, and me as an Enhancement Shaman. This is, by the way, fully pugged. I don't know these guys. I've never played with those guys. This is the only key I've done with these people. This is fully pugged, no comms, no whatsoever. Just a little bit of communication at the beginning of the dungeon to know when to Bloodlust, where to Bloodlust, when to press defenses and stuff. But that's about it. There's no other way of communication here. So before the run begins, I use my Lights Potential and my Agatha Puzzle Box at this very second. The moment the timer hits 1, the moment where my tank is pressing his Incarn, I am also pressing my Lights Potential into my Agatha Puzzle Box. And even if you don't see the cast going off, it will still apply the buff for you and reset the dungeon and reset the trinkets timer once the key starts, right? So you're going to see right here, I'm going to press my Lights Potential into Agatha Puzzle Box. The cast time didn't go through on my screen, but behind the loading bar, it will still go through. And as you can see, it applied the buff. And I have my Lights Potential. Perfect for this dungeon, by the way. So I would always recommend you using it right here. I mark this one caster, kick it instantly, use my basic core rotation with Ascendance and stuff. Most people don't really Bloodlust here until you start getting into higher keys, so about 18 plus. This is the pull that hurts the most compared to the second pull. The second pull should be no issue at all, starting from like plus 18s, and this is the pull where you should Bloodlust usually. This is where the most damage comes in. This is one of the most dangerous packs at the beginning, and you want to time your Bloodlusts perfectly to spread them across the entire run, right? Bloodlusting at the second pull prevents you from having Bloodlust on the pull right before the third boss, or the second boss, I'm sorry, with the Runic Glaive guys that shred the entire group instantly if you're not careful. So you just Bloodlust there, keep going, and this is probably the pull where Enhancement Shamans are going to struggle the most, since you have already spent every single button and every single cooldown you had on the first pull. You're going to see I am going to be probably also below the tank, I believe, since you don't have anything to press besides Thundering. If you don't get Lucky Doom Wind procs, you're going to deal little to no damage, since Warrior and Rogues don't have any cooldowns. You do. Plus, you optimally want to dispel these shields too. So in this dungeon, I would always recommend you to go for Purge, so you can purge off these shields. These shields will get more important later on after the first boss, where the Runic Glaive guys come. Whenever you can, always dispel these shields, even if it means that you don't deal any damage. It will help your team incredibly on the long run. So always do that. Always dispel. Don't be the guy that just tries to remove the shield by dealing damage. Just do everyone a favor and remove them, especially if you're the only one that can purge, right? Okay, so this is another pretty basic pull. I go out of my way to pick up the book for the 5% haste buff. Really great on Enhancement Shaman, really helpful. And then we just pull the Pyromancer here, and then we just shred him down. It's honestly really basic pull. Everyone does this pull nowadays. Nothing special anymore. Just make sure that you press your defensives whenever the Pyromancer casts Ignition. It's a ticking dot that just shreds you down. Enhancement Shaman starts struggling to survive starting from like plus 18s, plus 19s. So you gotta really learn how to use your defensives effectively. Or your one defensive. I don't really count Earth Elemental as a massive defensive anymore. It most of the time isn't even enough. Unless, except this exact run later on, it will save me from dying, simply because I pressed Earth Elemental, I believe. I mark this Arcane Mage because I know the tank is gonna pull the big Sentinel guy and then pull these 4. And before I start dealing any damage, I kick this guy first of all, and then I pick up this Energy Crystal. This Energy Crystal gives you the same buff the little worms give you, like in the next room right before the first boss. Now I believe it is a 10% to 15% damage increase. I think it's 10%, and picking it up gives you, as I said, a 30-second damage buff, and then I start blasting. Be careful though, if you click on this, start the cast, and then move or cancel the cast, the energy crystal will disappear. So keep in mind that you don't move, don't do anything else when you started clicking on the energy crystal to not lose out on the damage buff. And then I press my puzzle box, press my potion again, and then I full send my entire cooldowns. Here I forgot to press Ascendance. As you can see, I pressed my puzzle box, I pressed my Sundering, and I thought I pressed Ascendance, but I didn't. So I got mad here and then pressed it anyways. It's completely fine. Don't worry, just make sure that you use your Primordial Storm right before Doomwinds ends, so right about now, to maximize your damage. I forgot to reapply my Lava Lash here. It took a while until it happened, and then I dispel this guy again, remove the shields. Always remove the shields whenever you can, and just keep on going. As you can see, blasting damage big time. With Ascendance and Sundering, you should always be top DPS or very, very close to top DPS, since no other spec can really compete with you when it comes to burst, right? You have the biggest burst window in the game probably right now. And this is another it is a rather new pull, which is only done in high keys, honestly. I wouldn't recommend this doing in lower keys. So if you're a pug and you want to try this on a low key, if you're a tank for example, don't do this. It can get very difficult for the group if they don't know what to do. Same thing applies here. You focus down the Pyromancer, you press your defensive whenever Ignition is up, and then you just continue doing damage. As you can see, we are pretty low on the damage meters right now, but that will even itself out later on when we have our cooldowns up, because as I said, our cooldowns are really long. 2-minute cooldown on Ascendance. Rogues and Warriors don't really have that, except Warrior with Avatar. But Warrior always deals damage even without Avatar, right? Here we are about to get a Lucky Doomwind proc right about now, and I was contemplating on whether or not to use Sundering here, but I decided to do so and then send Primordial Storm instantly, right before Doomwinds ran out. Because if you watched my guide, you will know that Doomwinds will give you a 100% proc chance on Wind Fury weapon, and Primordial Storm is 3 separate attacks that can proc Wind Fury weapon, and we just want to capitalize off that as much as we can. Another very lucky Doomwinds proc, but we unfortunately couldn't get enough resets on Stormstrike for whatever reason. I had like 80% haste or 80% mastery. I checked right here because I was perplexed that I didn't get any resets. Was really, really unlucky, but I mean, it turned out fine. And then I got all my cooldowns back up, and then I started blasting again. Pressed Sundering, Ascendance, used my puzzle box, and then we just kept blasting. And this is just a rinse and repeat boss fight, so we're probably just gonna skip ahead. And as you can see, we are lower than these two, honestly, simply because these guys played it way better than I did. These guys pumped at all times, but as I said, it will even out at the end of the dungeon. Now the tank proceeds to pull these 2 worm packs. Now usually most of the people continue going forward into the next pack with the Grunic Glaive guy, but here I would recommend you to clear these worms first, because they deal a lot of damage if they explode, especially in higher keys, so 18 plus, as I said. If I talk about high keys, it's probably like 18 plus. We cleared all of these, got 20 stacks of the damage buff that we got earlier from the crystal, which is now a 20% damage increase, and then we continued to pull this double pack right here. I used my full rotation again, all my cooldowns. Some might say it is bad to use it here, just to save it for the last pull right before the second boss. But if you play it right, you don't really need it at the Bloodlust pull. Plus, we didn't have enough time for Bloodlust here anyway. Our Bloodlust was still on cooldown because we were simply too fast, so we didn't capitalize off Bloodlust on the pull right before the second boss. Here, once again, by the way, this pack is really important that you start using your purge effectively, because as you can see, there are 2 light ward healers, and they put these holy shields on, and sometimes it happens that they put the that both of these guys put a shield on the same guy. So you will have to purge the same target twice. Just keep track of the buff tracker here, or like the buffs on the enemy, and you should be good to go. So always be aware of that. Don't purge and then assume that it's fine and the shield is removed. Sometimes there's two of them on the same target. Alright, so we kill this pack and then we continue on to this pack. Now, once again, same thing. Be careful of the Spellwoven Familiars. They just jump around, deal a ton of damage. Be careful of the Runic Glaive. If you take too much damage, I would recommend popping your Earth Elemental here in this corridor. Earth Elemental holds for like 45 seconds, I believe. So really long defensive, but you should not be needing it on one single Runic Glaive stack on you. You should optimally keep your defensives on the pull right after this one. So as you know, another light ward healer. Keep track of shields. There should be a shield proccing relatively soon. So right here on the Runic Spellbreaker, if it drops on the Runic Spellbreaker, stop everything you're doing, remove this shield, because the longer this Runic Spellbreaker lives, the more damage your team takes. Any other mob is honestly irrelevant in this dungeon. Always try to get this Rune Spellbreaker killed. It is the bane of every single team's existence. Okay, so as I said, remove the shield, kill the Spellbreaker, and usually the team is then gonna, or the tank is then gonna move forward to the next pack to save time. And here is another energy crystal for the 10% damage buff. Now, most of the people don't even know about this one. There's also one at the entrance of this corridor, but I never pick that one up because I always forget that it exists. As I said, most of the people don't know. I always recommend you to pick this one up for another free 10% damage buff, and then just send whatever cooldowns you have. Always purge whenever you can, or whenever there is something to purge. And in this case, I focused the Light Ward Healer because he was very low, but usually you should focus one of the two Rune Spellbreakers, right? This is the most dangerous pull in the game. So always try to keep your cooldowns up. Usually Bloodlust here, but as I said, we were too fast right here. So we opted out of Bloodlusting here and decided to Bloodlust on the second boss. As you can see, I am competing with every single other DPS in the group. Right here, I'm about to die. And since I don't have any defensives anymore, I decide to use my health potion. Always keep health potions in your bags too. Really lifesavers for Enhancement Shamans especially. Because when you're in a situation like this, where you don't have your Astral Shift or your Earth Elemental, you are pretty much naked. You don't have any other defensives except your like natural ones in your talent tree. Just always keep health potions. The rank ones are more than enough. You don't have to spend a lot of money on them. So keep them. And right here, right before the boss starts, I start casting my puzzle box, Voltaic Blaze, Sundering, Bloodlust, Ascendance, Crash Lightning, and then I go into my Windstrike rotation with the occasional Crash Lightning when it resets, and using my Primordial Storm right about now, right before Doomwind ends, to profit of the 100% Wind Fury weapon procs. If you struggle dealing damage on this boss, it is completely fine. This boss is really reliant on you getting resets and a lot of Maelstrom weapon stacks and a lot of Doomwind's procs. And if you get Doomwind's procs, there are also times where you get the proc right before the boss starts casting the AoE silence, where you have to go into the bubble to save yourself. So if you're unlucky, it is pretty normal that you are like at the bottom of at bottom DPS. But in this case, I was relatively lucky, got a lot of resets, got perma Stormstrike, honestly, got a lot of Maelstrom weapons to use, and got a fair bit amount of Doomwind's procs. So I was at the top for a long time, and I don't think that even changes the entire fight. So we're gonna skip ahead. You just do the mechanics. There is a little tag here where if you get the circle, you can pre-stand in this bubble to remove it instantly without getting any ticks of damage. Just make sure that the other guy that has the buff doesn't do the same thing, because if both of these buffs get dispelled at the same time, your team will implode. Just make sure that you alone stand in that bubble right before the circle gets put on you, and then you can go out again without the buff, without the debuff. Okay, so there's nothing much happening here anymore. So we're just going to skip ahead. Really simple mechanics. We don't do anything fancy here. And then we click on this little Signature of Twilight thingy to activate the second phase of the dungeon, where everything goes voidy and shit. And then we continue, wait for everything here to spawn, and then the tank is gonna pick them all up. I marked the only caster in this group right here in the Dreadful Voidwalker. Always kick the cast. By the way, make sure that while the tank is pulling all of this stuff to the mini-boss outside, that you don't attack, don't heal, just walk with him, don't touch anything. If you touch anything, there's a high chance that these little teleporting guys will just jump on you and do things to you that you don't want them to do. Just wait until the tank assembled everything, grouped everything up. Optimally kick this guy, because he will always start casting right here. In this case, the warrior did it, but I was about to reposition to do the same thing. Always keep this guy's kick in mind, which is why I would always recommend you to focus target NPCs, and then do your core rotation, your big pull with Ascendance, with Puzzle Box, and then start blasting. This is a very fun pull for DPS, but make sure that whenever Consuming Shadows goes off, you start pressing your defensive when it gets dangerous. Usually you can press it whenever he starts casting it, but in this case I pressed it a little late because I didn't feel anything, because I think I had a shield from the bonk on me, so I didn't press anything here, and then I just continued blasting. Nothing here has to be dispelled or purged, so you can just keep blasting. Don't worry about your team, don't worry about your about purge, just keep going. I don't think there's going to be any purges left anymore anyway, so. Alright, then we just go into this room, pull 3 Void Terrors. Always make sure that you kick it. You can also use Capacitor Totem here to stun every single one of them if it ever gets too dangerous and you think no one else has a kick anymore. Don't greed it. If you think there isn't going to be a kick coming soon, just use a Capacitor Totem, and if they kick, they kick. It is what it is, right? But just better safe than sorry. You could also go for Tremor Totem right here, but I would recommend it for only these mobs. So there's way better options in your talent tree. Okay, so as you can see, my cooldowns are about to go up again. I am looking at the cooldown of my puzzle box so I can frame one, click it, because I know this is going to be a big pull where I want to do big damage. So as you can see, 0 seconds left. The first second it is back up again, I instantly press it, start casting it. And this is also the time where Sundering gets back up perfectly. This is possible if you don't desync your Ascendance and your Sundering and your Puzzle Box. Never use your Puzzle Box without having Ascendance, and never use Sundering if it is going to desync it with the cooldown of Ascendance. So in every single Ascendance cooldown window, you can put in 4 different Sunderings at 2 minutes, which you will use with Ascendance. So you will press Sundering and then Ascendance, and then you will have one at 1:30, 30 seconds, and when Ascendance is back up, you will have Sundering back up and Puzzle Box back up. All of these are aligning perfectly, which is why Puzzle Box is so good for Enhancement Shaman. Not only because it has mastery on it and gives you like a ton of fucking mastery, but also because it is aligning perfectly with Ascendance, which is also, I would like to believe, why Stormbringer is a little bit better right now than Totemic, because Totemic, as far as I know, doesn't go for Ascendance build. So anyway, we just start blasting here. No dispels, as I said, no purges. Just make sure that you kick the Dreadful Voidwalker to profit of the Wind Veil buff. Press your defensive whenever Consuming Shadows goes off. Big damage take, you will see it right here. I pop for a little bit. So wouldn't have happened if I pressed my defensive, but I panicked pressed it out right after, which I didn't need anymore. So just make sure that you always press it when Consuming Shadows is up. Then we continue. I decide to focus on the Dreadful Voidwalker kicks to keep it down at all times. I kick it right here so it doesn't stay back. And then usually I would recommend everyone to press Sundering right here, because we have everything up, right? We have Storm Strike up, we have Crash Lightning up, So pressing Sundering right here and then not using Primordial Storm would be the play. Why? Because if you press Sundering right now, you don't profit of Doomwinds yet. So what you want to do here is fish for Doomwinds procs. Now if you don't know, while Ascendance is on cooldown, you have a chance of 0.5% per Maelstrom weapon spent to proc Doomwinds. Doomwinds will give your Wind Fury weapon a 100% proc chance. We talked about this. And then your Primordial Storm will basically deal the double amount of damage, right? So if you want to min-max this, I don't do what I do right here. Don't press Primordial Storm right after I greeted this. I don't know why I did it, but rather press your Chain Lightning or your Tempest, whichever is up, and then fish for Doomwinds procs. If you don't get Doomwinds procs, just send Primordial Storm. It's completely fine, even if it's not on 10 stacks. Primordial Storm really doesn't deal as much damage as you guys think if it isn't on Doomwinds. So just send it, just make the most out of the ability and just move on. In this case, I unfortunately pressed Primordial Storm instantly, which wasn't a good idea, but it's completely fine. The next boss is going to be the best boss for Enhancement Shamans anyway, so you will save your DPS a little bit there. Alright, so this is another pull, it dies, and then we once again have unfortunately desynced our Bloodlusts because we are just simply way too fast. We deal too much damage, we clear way too fast, the pulls are big, we survive everything because of the healer. As I said, this group is very cracked, very rare to find in a pug. But we have 2 minutes on Bloodlust. I asked this guy in the middle of the fight if he wants Bloodlust anyways in the fight. So he decides not to. He tells me to Bloodlust on the last boss, but usually you would Bloodlust right here. Not instantly. You would wait until he duplicates himself. Like right now, you would probably Bloodlust. And you would also send Ascendance and stuff. Now, why I didn't send Ascendance is really simple. As you can see, I have 8 seconds left on Ascendance, but I get a Doomwinds proc right here. Now, most people would either press Ascendance as well, which is bad. You want to make the most of your Doomwinds, and if you press Ascendance, your Doomwinds will basically reset and it will not add on top of each other. So make sure that you use this Ascendance, make sure that you use this Doomwinds as much as possible until it runs out, and then press Ascendance. Now, the other group of people would probably send Sundering right here because they didn't look at the Ascendance cooldown and just profit of Doomwinds that they proc right now, right? You wouldn't want to do that because, as you saw before, my Ascendance was up in 8 seconds. Now, I am stupid and I didn't see it. I didn't keep track of my cooldown, so I sent Sundering right here, which is bad. But on this boss, it is kind of fine because there's likely going to be 2 intermission phases with these guys spawning. So I decided to accept my fate that I messed up, accept that I fucked up, and don't send Ascendance now. Just keep it until the next intermission phase. Now, if you have Bloodlust, obviously you should send it, right? But this tank said just keep it for the last boss. It's fine. We won't need it. So I kept every single one of my cooldowns. I sent Sundering on cooldown though. Every single time Sundering was up, I used it because it is 30 seconds, basically nothing in these high keys anyway. Mobs don't die in 30 seconds. So that's what I did. I finished this cast off, and then I thought the intermission phase would begin right when this timer starts. But it was the grip. I still sent it anyway. I used my puzzle box, I used my Sundering, my potion, my Ascendance, my typical rotation, and then I send it. That is fine. You still profit off of cleaving onto the other guy, but you could have maximized it by waiting a little bit and cleaving it onto these guys as well. I still did, which is why I'm popping off on the damage meters as well. This is a really great boss for you, since you can see my lightnings are chaining off of every single one of these guys, and my Voltaic Blaze spreads across every single one of these. This is a dream for Enhancement Shamans, honestly. Most of these guys can't really deal damage to them anyways, besides Rogue maybe with this poisons. But this is a wet dream for Enhancement Shamans. This boss fight is really good for Enhancement Shaman. Sometimes really difficult to survive, especially with this little debuff, which you should always press defensives on. So I press my defensive right here, right as it procs, to prevent myself from dying from this little dot, this puddle also spawns a dot on the target that it was cast on, so always keep that in mind. And then we just rinse and repeat. I get an unfortunate proc on the soak, so I have to run away while Doomwind's procs happens, but that's the fight. Nothing happened, nothing changes right here. And then we have the typical really fun big pull right before the end. Here, I unfortunately don't have my cooldowns, but that is for a reason. I knew that we weren't going to skip the last two big boys, which you usually skip in high keys, right? My tank decided not to, because we simply can't. So I decided to keep all of my cooldowns / ascendants for that last pack. I knew that if I used it right here, I would have nothing left, which is why I sent it on the last boss right before he died. This is really min-maxy, and it is required for you to know your timers perfectly. So you need to know at what minute you're going to be at which situation in the dungeon, right? I knew that if I pressed my ascendants right there on the boss, I would have it perfectly back up on this exact pull that's coming up right now. You should always wait, by the way. You should always wait a little longer for the tank to build aggro, especially when it's a bear. Bears really need a little bit longer. So make use of that time waiting by pressing your puzzle box, spreading your voltaic blaze, and then you can probably start attacking already. That should be enough time for the tank to gather a lot of threat, right? And then you just keep blasting. Rogue going crazy as well. This is a great pull for rogues and shamans. And here I had this little bug for whatever reason that when you get too many Maelstrom weapon resets, your UI sometimes shows you that you have 10 Maelstrom weapons, but you don't. So as you can see, first off, this is an add-on called Sensei Resource Class Bar, which I like using always, since it shows my health bar and my Maelstrom weapons right at the center of my screen. In this case, it showed me that I have 10 stacks, but I don't. You can see it right here by me trying to instant cast the chain lightning, which didn't work. I started casting it. Now you might say this is an add-on issue. No, it is also a Blizzard issue. Now, as you can see right here, you can see my 10 Maelstrom weapons. And as you can see right here, this is the cooldown manager of Blizzard. I apparently have 10 Maelstrom weapons. I don't. I couldn't use my abilities, and I had to stack 10 Maelstrom weapons again for me to reset this little bug. It's really annoying, but keep that in mind. You can't really do anything about it. Even Blizzard's UI doesn't work correctly, so you can't blame an add-on. You just have to pray for Blizzard to fix it eventually. So we kill that pack. We move on to the second pull. I honestly thought that the tank would group them all together, which is why I kept my cooldowns. He didn't, but it turned out fine. I got my Sundering back up. Always focused on the Shadow of Voidcaller, because that's the guy that deals a lot of damage with consuming shadows. The warrior dies right here. First death of the dungeon. As I said, really, really clean run. Healer did God's work at some points. But we managed to kill these two guys, and then we move on to the last boss. Now, right here, you just send your cooldowns at all times. Whenever you have them up, I Bloodlust right here. I use every single one of my buttons, every single potion and stuff that I have to keep blasting. This is also a really great buff. This is also a really great boss for Enhancement Shamans. I can't really tell you why, but I tend to deal a ton of damage on this boss every single time I'm here. I'm usually the top DPS right here, but I think the rogue just barely overtakes me towards the end. But a great reason why could be because you can soak these ranged circles. I didn't, because I was a little bit arrogant and greedy this run. I gotta be honest. I wanted to keep my damage up. But usually, especially if you have Ascendants up, you should be soaking these ranged puddles if there's no one else that can soak it. And just soak as many of these circles as you can without dying, right? These popping circles, these circular things that surround you, are really dangerous for shamans when they are on you, since you only have one defensive, and these can be put on you like 3 times in a row. It could happen. And eventually, you will run out of defensives and you will start taking a lot of damage. As you can see right here, I have the debuff and I'm taking tons of damage the healer's trying to keep me up as much as he can. The only bottleneck shamans have, or enhancement shamans rather have, is their defensive capabilities. I have felt it myself in a plus 19 already. I am really struggling to survive Seed of the Triumvirate, the third boss, because he deals a fuck ton of damage. And I genuinely feel other dungeons have moments where I straight up cannot survive. Like, mathematically, I just cannot survive if I'm not getting babysit. That is the biggest issue on Shaman right now, which is why Shamans probably aren't S tier, simply because they are really, 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 really squishy. You can't do anything about it. You can maybe buy versatility potions, or flasks rather, but then you lose out on a lot of damage, and then you basically defeat the whole purpose of your existence in keys. So it is something you can't do much about, honestly. It just is the way it is right now, unfortunately. So you just have to live with it, that you're squishy, that you eventually will hit a hard cap wall, because you just simply cannot survive mathematically anymore. A great fix that I put out there all the time is to reduce the damage reduction of Astral Shift from 40% to 30% and give the ability to stacks, like with Hunters, for example. And I also believe Demon Hunter would be a great way to make Shamans a little bit tankier, but I also understand why they wouldn't want to do that, because then Enhancement Shaman would take over, and they just already bring a lot of utility with stuns, purges, dispels. They bring a lot of utility, but at the end, as you can see, we timed it. We timed my first or my second 20 ever. I jumped into two 20s and I timed both 20s on my first try. If you want to see commentary like this on future runs of me and other dungeons, let me know by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. It really helps out a ton, and I appreciate every single one of you. If you want to catch me live, consider checking out my twitch.tv/Florian. And I have a schedule on my Discord and on my YouTube posts. If I'm not live right now, check when I'm live next, and I will see you then. Bye bye.